All right, welcome to today's class. And today we'll be discussing introduction to logic. I want to believe in the earlier classes you were introduced to what philosophy is and the branches of philosophy. And you would agree with me that one of the core branches of philosophy is logic. So today we will be discussing logic a bit. So it is the introductory aspect of logic. So what is logic? Logic is a very vital and important aspect of philosophy, one of the core or traditional branches of philosophy. Logic is very vital and important to our daily endeavor, and sometimes people view logic to be signs and symbols, but logic is far more than signs and symbols. You want to agree with me that sometimes when you argue, perhaps when you argue football or any kind of discussion, you would tell your colleague that why are you not logical in your argument, or why are you not talking as if, sometimes you might be abusive a bit and say why are you not talking as if, why are you talking as if you do not have sense. What you are trying to express at that point is not as if that person does not have the mental capacity to think, but you are trying to say that your thoughts are not logical. That means there is no coherence between what you are trying to put forward, and that is where logic comes in. Like apparent discipline, logic does not have a universal definition. So different persons have defined logic from different perspectives, just as philosophy has been defined from different perspectives. I will be discussing one or two definitions of logic while we move ahead. Adebola Ekanla 2015 defined logic as the science of the laws of the mind. He defines logic as the science of the laws of the mind. And Ivan Copy defines logic as the study of the concept and method of separating good thinking from bad reasoning. Good thinking from bad thinking. Ivan Copy. He defines logic as a method. So how do you know if this person is talking properly or is expressing himself properly or is putting forward a good argument from a bad argument? It is how logical such argument is. So you are able to know the difference between an argument that is logical and the one that is devoid of logic. Logic can be seen as a theory of systematic reasoning that assists in differentiating between good and bad arguments. Logic can be seen as a theory of systematic reasoning that assists in differentiating between good and bad arguments. We have two types of logic. We have what we call the formal logic and we have the informal logic. The informal logic, so to speak, the daily what we use in our daily ordinary languages. It is the branch of logic that evaluate and analyze arguments that are presented in natural languages. It aims to interpret and assess arguments made during conversation, conflict and debate as they are. So what I mean is informal logic, we use it in our daily life. In informal logic, we really do not need your signs or symbols. Some of you might have come across logic textbook where they use some signs and symbols, but in informal logic you really do not need it, because while you debate at home, while you debate when you read newspaper at the newspaper stand, vendor stand, while you talk to your colleague, sometimes you use logic, you infer that I have done this, therefore this must follow. That is logic, but you are using your ordinary language, and that is what we call what? The informal logic. While the formal logic deals with the structure of statements and argument. It focuses more on the structure of the statement and argument. While informal does not deal with the structure, you can say A, then B later, then D. But for formal logic, it deals majorly with what? The structure and argument. And in formal logic, it deals with signs and symbols. It deals with signs and symbol. Ekwala 2015 said that formal logic is the study of pure forms. Formal logic is the study of pure form. It is very important in argument. We need logic in our day-to-day argument. How do we know if an argument is valid or invalid? Is for us to verify how logical that argument is. So in the law court, in our daily endeavor, we have arguments, we have debate, we have interactions, and we are trying to express our own opinions, trying to establish our conclusions at some point. And in the bid to establish these opinions, this stand, these conclusions, we use logic. So logic is very vital to argument. Now I'll be moving quickly. One aspect of I told you is introduction to logic, and we cannot discuss logic devoid of argument. So what is an argument? An argument, according to Copil, can be seen as a statement which is asserted using a declarative sentence, and hence it can either be true or false. An argument can be seen as a statement which is assertive using declarative statement, and hence can either be true or false. Argument can also be seen as a chain of reasoning, as a line of thought that has a conclusion and premises, and the conclusion, the premises gives ground for the conclusion. Now, what I mean is this. For instance, we have an argument could be in this form: all men are mortal. Segun is a man, therefore Segun is a mortal. That is an argument. So the premise here is all men are mortal. Segun is a man. Your conclusion is that Segun is a mortal. So what you want to say is that Segun is a mortal. So for you to establish the fact that Segun is a mortal, you drew your inferences from the fact that all men are mortal, and because Segun is a man, therefore Segun is a man. I don't know if you are getting the point. Okay? So always, with like the first example I'm giving you, you discover that the conclusion is at the end. Conclusion can come at the beginning of an argument, it can come in the middle, and it can come at the end. And how do I mean? Sometimes, some of you, while you argue football, sometimes you start with your conclusion. The first thing you say is Messi is better than Ronaldo, or Ronaldo is better than Messi. And you now start giving us claims why you feel Messi is better than Ronaldo, or why Ronaldo is better than Messi. So we can have such also in an argument. For instance, we have the Kung Fu government has failed the nation because a poor economy is one of the indicators of a failed nation, and the Kung Fu economy is poor. Here the conclusion is at the beginning. You want to establish the fact that the Kung Fu government has failed the nation. So how do they fail the nation? One, which is the first premise, is that a poor economy is an indicator of a failed nation. The second premise happens to be the fact that the Kung Fu economy is poor. Therefore, you are now concluding. But you discover that that conclusion is coming at the beginning. So we have what we call the premises indicator. The premises are what give grounds for your conclusion. You have premises indicator. Once you see them, you know that these are premise indicator. We have words like since, given that, following from, among others, because. Those are what? Premises indicator. And we have conclusion indicator. Once you start seeing words like therefore, I submit, I infer, consequentially, I agree, as a result, hence, those are what? Conclusion indicator. We have two types of argument. We have the deductive argument and the inductive argument. The deductive argument are arguments that moves from general instances to particular instances. They move from general instances to particular instances. And in deductive argument, everything that is in the conclusion is already present in the premises. The premises does not have any additional information to give. So example of an of deductive argument is all politicians are liar. Jogogo is a politician, therefore Jogogo is a liar. That is what you discover, that we move from general, we pick from all politicians, all of them from general, then we now start returning back to specific. So all politicians are liar, which is a general statement. Jogogo is a politician, a bit specific. Therefore, we are concluding that Jogogo is a liar. Or another example could be all humans are mortal. Akingbade is a human. Therefore, Akingbade is a mortal. That is what? An example of what? Deductive argument. The second type of argument is inductive argument. In inductive argument, it is the opposite of deductive argument. We move from particular instances to general. We move from particular instances to general. And in the sciences, inductive argument is what is always invoked majorly. You move from your observation, what you've experienced. I've experienced this, I've experienced this, I've experienced that. Therefore, I am concluding that this probably happens to be the result. For instance, it rained on Tuesday last month. It rained on Tuesday this month. Therefore, it is going to rain on Tuesday next month. So you are moving. You discover in the sciences, you say, my first observation, I discovered that H2O is water. I tested something else, I discovered that H2O is water. Therefore, you are concluding that H2O is water. It's not as if that you've carried experiment on all, but you are moving from the few that you've examined to generalize. So in inductive argument, there are always additional information in the conclusion. The conclusion always provide additional information that are not available in the premises. So that's for that. You would be looking at propositions. Propositions have a logical significance that can either be confirmed or denied. You see, all those premises that we've discussed, once you break them down into single statements, we don't call them statements in philosophy, we call them propositions. We don't call them statements, we don't call them phrase in philosophy, we call them what? Propositions. So that is the difference between those statements in philosophy and those statements in English language. So we have different type of proposition. We have hypothetical proposition, we have categorical proposition, we have the disjunctive propositions. So, and one thing that you must be aware of is the fact that one thing that is very, very important in an argument is that you must be conscious not to make errors. Like I will tell you, people win cases in the law court not because they are morally right or they are morally justified, but they win cases in the law court based on how well or how logical their arguments are. So someone can steal and you know that this person stole, and the person will still win in the law court if he's able to bring out logical inferences to justify that he did not steal. So long as the law cannot prove that he stole, the person will win. So logicality of an argument does not deal with the morality at some point. So you must know how to argue properly, how to channel your argument properly. And in doing this, you must be aware of fallacies. Fallacies are what we call errors in argument. They are what we call what? Errors in argument. We have two types of fallacies. We have what we call the formal fallacy, and we have the what? The informal fallacy. The formal fallacy are errors in structure or forms of an argument. The fallacies involved are majorly one, breaking logical laws or rules of inference. The informal fallacies, they are logical errors in premises or conclusion. Either the premises or conclusion are irrelevant or incorrect. These fallacies could be committed through the premises or the conclusion. Fallacies invalidate an argument. You must know that. Fallacies invalidate an argument. They are errors in judgment. So we have so many examples of fallacy. You can always read up. I'll just discuss one or two with you very quickly. We have the first fallacy, which is argumentum ad hominem. We call it fallacy of abusiveness. And this fallacy occur when you are debating, most especially when you are debating with your friend and you start insulting them and you start saying words like, "Are you stupid? How can you say Messi is better than Ronaldo? Is something wrong with you? Are you reasoning? How can you say Ronaldo is better That is what we call fallacy. You are already abusing the person. Normally, you should give us, okay, Messi is better than Ronaldo, maybe because he scores more goal than Ronaldo, maybe because he dribbles more than Ronaldo, or he has more Ballon d'Or than Ronaldo. Those are arguments you should give. But at the point you start insulting the personality of the person, you started committing fallacy. We have what we call the fallacy of ignorance. The fact that you do not know does not mean that something does not exist. When you start saying that God does not exist because I've not seen him before, it's called fallacy of what? Ignorance. Argumentum ad ignorantium. That is fallacy of ignorance. We have fallacy of appeal to popularity. We do this a lot of time, appeal to popularity. When you are arguing and you know that a lot of people in that place believe that you are a very noble person, or they just have some kind of faith or belief in you, at that point you try to call them, see, come and hear what this person has said. Oh, how can this person say this? How can this person say that? Can you imagine? No, you are trying to appeal to the popularity of those people in such a way that when they are able to tell you that so many persons can now confirm that so many persons confirm what you are saying does not mean it is right, and it doesn't mean it is wrong. So for it, we have another fallacy of appeal to authority. Fallacy of appeal to authority. When you appeal to authority, so you are quoting something and you said Wole Soyinka, because Wole Soyinka said so, or because the vice chancellor of the university said so. You have to give us reason why what you are saying is true. That Wole Soyinka said so does not mean that it is right. It could be Wole Soyinka's opinion. It could be his personal bias. So it doesn't mean it is right. So people appeal to authority that because this person has said so, therefore it is the right thing to do. We have appealed to pity. When you start telling people, why can't you pity me? Why can't you pity my condition? You stole something and you are trying to appeal to their emotion as the basis for stealing. We also have fallacy of what we call hasty generalization. Hasty generalization. When you generalize without having enough ground for your for you drawing such conclusion. We do that a lot. For instance, you went to a class and you couldn't find the person you are to have a class, and when you got there, maybe you found very few persons there, and you went and you said there are few persons there, therefore the class will not hold. That's what we call hasty generalization. So with that, I will end introduction to logic. I believe you read up. So for your self-assessment exercise, you can look through this question. Give all the differences you know about inductive and deductive argument. Formulate two examples each of both inductive and deductive argument. I've given the examples so you can also generate examples yourself. So thank you very much.